The 20th century saw extraordinary global changes. In 1900, the average US family had no indoor plumbing and no electricity. There were only 8,000 cars in the whole country. The average life expectancy for white Americans was 48 years, and for black Americans, just 33. The infant mortality rate was 165 per 1,000. By 1999, life expectancy in the US had reached 76 for white Americans and 71 for black Americans. Meanwhile, infant mortality had dropped to 7 per 1,000. There were 220 million cars, and access to electricity was nearly universal. The 20th century brought increasing prosperity, along with massive population growth and urbanization. The estimated gross global product for 1900 was around $3.5 trillion, and by 2000 it was $33.65 trillion. The world's population in 1900 was 1.6 billion. By 1999, it had nearly quadrupled to 6 billion. There were tremendous technological advances, such as the automobile, telephone, refrigerator, washing machine, television, airline travel, air conditioning, microwave, computer, and the Internet. The introduction of these various new consumer goods marked fundamental innovations in technology, production, and distribution. The century was also defined by landmark events such as 2 world wars, the rise and fall of fascism and communism, the Holocaust and other genocides, as well as many horrific regional wars. There were also prolonged political processes, such as the end of colonialism and economic globalization. In 1900, the only independent African countries were Ethiopia and Liberia. By 1999, all of them were independent. The demise of the British Empire, which was at its zenith around 1900, coincided with the ascendancy of U.S. hegemony, which reached its apex by 1999. Elsewhere, international governmental organizations were formed, such as the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, NATO, the EU, Interpol, and the Bank for International Settlements, as well as the meteoric rise of transnational corporations. During the 20th century, our understanding of the world was transformed, thanks to the likes of relativity, quantum physics, molecular biology, chaos theory, and computer science. Likewise, our comprehension of ourselves developed dramatically, courtesy of theories such as behaviourism, structuralism, and cognitive science, as well as revered thinkers such as Freud, Piaget, and Chomsky. At the same time, the social sciences, which were mere fledglings at the beginning of the century, had soared to become well-established academic disciplines by its end. In the arts and humanities, there were staggering developments too. The early 1900s heralded seismic shifts in literature, the visual arts, and music. When in May 1922, Proust, Joyce, Stravinsky, Picasso, and Diaghilev met for dinner in Paris, the event symbolized the high point of modernist culture. It also confirmed a decisive break with 19th century culture. However, the works of these pioneers may appear traditional today, and there is no longer only a few dominant cultural schools or movements, but rather thousands of strands of creativity. The history of Western philosophy in the 20th century broadly reflects all of this change and diversity, but at an abstract level, as we will see. Part of its story is of the contrast between 2 conflicting traditions, the analytic and the continental. In the analytic tradition, there are thinkers such as Russell, Quine, and Davidson, who, among other things, aim to show how semantic meaning fits into the scientifically conceived physical world. This often goes hand in hand with the idea that social progress must be in part scientific.